We don't always notice the exact moment a family stops being a refuge. Sometimes it sounds like a normal sentence, spoken at a normal volume, in a house that still smells like dinner. This one stayed with us because it didn't arrive with shouting. It arrived already decided. Talia Mercer is an architectural designer. What matters here isn't the degree or the job. It's how long she believed she was safe where she was standing. This is how she remembers it. I had my keys in my hand when I heard Lydia's voice carry out of the kitchen. Now that the consulting contract cleared, we need to be realistic about how much longer this can go on. I froze in the hallway. My bag slid off my shoulder and bumped the wall. Not loud. Loud enough. Aaron turned first. His face changed before he spoke, like he'd already done the math and didn't like the answer. Lydia followed his gaze, one hand resting on the counter, the other on her stomach. "Oh," she said. "You're home early. I didn't move." "I heard you." Silence stretched. The refrigerator hummed. Something clicked off in the kitchen. Lydia smiled, the one she used when people misunderstood her. "You shouldn't listen in on private conversations." I wasn't listening. I walked in. Aaron looked down at the floor. He didn't say my name. Lydia straightened. "We were talking about planning. The baby changes things. So does the contract." I said. Her smile tightened. "This is Aaron's house. I have to think about my family." That word landed wrong. Family. Like I was furniture they'd been generous enough to loan themselves. "I pay rent," I said. "Every month." "We never called it rent." Lydia's voice stayed calm. "We called it helping." For a second, it was clear. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just clear. From the outside, it looked like a normal conversation. From where I was standing, something had already ended. We noticed how no one raised their voice. I picked up my bag. "I'll give you space." Lydia nodded. "That would be best." Upstairs. I closed the door to the room I thought was mine and sat on the bed without turning on the light. I didn't cry. I started counting what I had paid, what I had saved, and how quickly a life can become temporary. If you've ever stayed somewhere on borrowed certainty, you already know how this part goes. The arrangement had sounded reasonable when we first talked about it. "It's just for a little while," Lydia said, sliding a mug across the table. "Until you're steady. I transferred $1,450 to Aaron every month. Same day, same note." He never replied. Lydia always did. "Got it." She'd text. "Thanks." There was no lease. She said paperwork made things awkward between family. I didn't push. I cooked instead. 3 nights most weeks. I learned which pan Aaron liked his eggs in and how Lydia wanted the dishwasher loaded. I stayed home when the sitter canceled and listened for the baby monitor while she showered. Once, I mentioned winter. Staying through the holidays might make things easier. I said, keeping my voice light. Lydia's spoon paused over her bowl. "Let's not make this open-ended." Aaron cleared his throat. "We'll see how things look." After that, I kept my suitcase under the bed. Not unpacked. Not packed. I told myself it was practical. I told myself everyone did this when they lived somewhere borrowed. On Sundays, Lydia would smile and say, "You're such a help." I believed her longer than I should have. Dinner happened like nothing had shifted. Lydia set plates down, careful with the edges, like she didn't want to chip anything. Aaron kept his eyes on the table. The television murmured from the living room, some game show laugh track drifting in and out. I didn't sit. I heard what you said earlier. I started standing by the counter. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. About the contract. About how long this can go on. Lydia's shoulders lifted, then settled. "We weren't talking about you. We were talking about planning." "Planning what?" She turned, one hand resting low on her stomach. "The nursery. The baby changes things. So does the money." I said, "You don't need my rent anymore." Aaron shifted in his chair. The leg scraped the floor. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Lydia's smile came back. Smaller this time. "This is Aaron's house. I need to prioritize my family. The word landed heavy. Not ours. Not all of us. I've been paying $1,450 every month. I said, on time. We never called it rent. She replied, we called it helping out. Aaron finally looked up. His face tightened like he wanted to interrupt but couldn't find the opening. I live here, I said. I contribute. You stay here, Lydia corrected. There's a difference. Silence stretched. The microwave clock blinked. I noticed a crayon mark on the wall near the fridge. Something I'd meant to clean. I'm going upstairs, I said. I need a minute. Lydia nodded, already reaching for her plate. That's probably best. Upstairs. I closed the door softly and sat on the edge of the bed, hands flat on my knees. It wasn't anger yet. It was the sound of something locking behind me. It came out sideways, the way real things usually do. We were at my aunt's place on Sunday, plates stacked too high, people standing because the table ran out of chairs. I was halfway through a story about work when my cousin leaned in, smiling. So, she said, congrats to Aaron and Lydia? That consulting thing finally closed. Right. I felt my neck go warm. What consulting thing? She blinked. Oh, I thought you knew. Lydia's been waiting on it for months. Aaron was across the room, refilling his drink. Lydia stood near him, laughing too loudly at something someone else said. How much was it? I asked, keeping my voice even. My cousin shrugged. I heard $182,750, and they already got. What? $68,000 up front. The room didn't change. No one stopped talking. Lydia didn't look over. Later, in the kitchen, I rinsed my hands longer than I needed to. Lydia stepped in beside me, drying her palms on a towel. You should be careful about repeating things you hear, she said lightly. I didn't repeat anything. She smiled at the sink. Money talk makes people uncomfortable. I watched the water run, thought about the nights she'd mentioned stress, tight months, needing help. I pay you every month. I said, you weren't struggling. She folded the towel neatly. We didn't ask you to analyze our finances. Aaron hovered in the doorway, silent. I turned the faucet off. That was when it clicked. Not all at once, just enough. I wasn't staying to help anymore. I was staying because it worked for them. The shift didn't happen all at once. It spread. At church, a woman who used to hug me started stopping short, hands folding together like she'd forgotten how we knew each other. At a family dinner, my uncle asked, So, you're still figuring things out and didn't wait for an answer. Lydia stayed pleasant, almost careful. One afternoon, she leaned against the counter while I packed my lunch. I think you might be getting too comfortable, she said. Aaron's been feeling a little crowded. I kept my eyes on the lid. Crowded how? She shrugged. You're around a lot. He needs space. That night, my phone buzzed with a text from my mom. Lydia says you've had it easy there, living rent-free while you find your direction. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Aaron was in the next room, television low, laughing at something. 2 days later, Lydia announced a timeline. We'll need the room in about 4 weeks, she said, glancing at a calendar on the fridge. Painters are scheduled. A week after that. The date moved. They had an opening sooner, she said. Lucky. Right. My internet slowed during the afternoons. Files stalled halfway through uploads. When I mentioned it, Lydia tilted her head. Maybe the network's overloaded, she said. We're all working a lot. At work. My manager paused at my desk. You missed the review window, she said quietly. That's not like you. I nodded, heat creeping up my neck. That evening, Aaron stood in the doorway of my room. He didn't come in. We don't want this to get messy, he said. I don't either. He hesitated, then nodded, like that settled something. After he left, I opened my banking app and scrolled back through transfers. Same amount, same dates. I took screenshots and saved them to a folder with a plain name. Outside my door. Lydia's voice floated down the hall, light and reassuring, telling someone everything was under control. I left before the painters arrived. Lydia had taped a note to the fridge. Thanks for being flexible. A smiley face underneath. I folded it once and slid it into my pocket, like proof of something I didn't want to explain. For a few nights. I rotated couches. Everyone was kind in that careful way that comes with an expiration date. Just till Sunday. One friend said, already stacking her throw pillows back into place. After that, I slept in my car behind the office. I reclined the seat as far as it would go and tucked my coat around my legs. The temperature dipped under 20 degrees. The cold found its way in anyway. In the mornings. I timed it. Shower at Aaron and Lydia's after they left. Park down the block so my car wasn't there when the garage door opened. Once. I misjudged it. Lydia's key rattled in the lock while I stood in the hallway with a towel still damp around my shoulders. "Oh," she said, surprised but not embarrassed. "You're still using the shower. I'll be quick." She smiled. "Try to be." At work. My hands shook during a presentation. My manager glanced at the screen, then at me. "You okay?" she asked quietly. "Yeah," I said. "Just tired." By the end of the week, my eyes burned all the time. I stopped wearing mascara because it smeared when I rubbed them. I ate granola bars in the car, crumbs everywhere. One night, I sat in the driver's seat and watched frost creep across the windshield. My phone buzzed. A message from Aaron. "Let us know when you're officially out." I turned the screen face down and pulled the collar of my coat higher, waiting for sleep to come before the cold did. Rosa caught me in the break room late one evening, rinsing my mug for the third time. "You always leave this late," she said, leaning against the counter, "and you always come in early." I shrugged. Deadlines. She watched me for a second. "You sleeping okay?" "Enough." She didn't smile. "You don't look like someone getting enough." The next morning, she set a coffee on my desk without asking. Black. No lid. The way I take it. "I've got a couch," she said quietly. Pulls out. "It's not fancy." "I can pay." She shook her head. "Not like that." I hesitated, long enough to feel my throat tighten. "I was between places once." She added, "You don't have to explain anything." That night, her apartment smelled like detergent and toast. She showed me where the extra blanket was, where the bathroom light switch stuck. "Stay as long as you need," she said. "Just tell me if you want quiet." I slept through the night, all the way through. No alarms, no keys and locks. In the morning, I lined up my things neatly by the door. Habit. Rosa noticed and slid them back. "You live here right now," she said. "It's okay to spread out." Later, sitting at her small kitchen table, I opened my laptop and started a new folder, bank transfers, texts, dates. Nothing dramatic, just clean lines. Rosa passed behind me, glanced at the screen, and nodded once. "Smart." She said, "Keep going." I did. I moved into a one-bedroom near Baker a few weeks later. Thin walls, radiator that clanked at night, a window that faced an alley instead of a view. It felt solid anyway. Rosa helped me carry a borrowed desk up the stairs. "It's not permanent," she said. "It's stable." That was enough. Work steadied. I stopped arriving early just to sit in the dark. I started sleeping through alarms instead of waking before them. My manager pulled me aside one afternoon. "You handled that revision well," she said. "There's a municipal adaptive reuse project coming up. Interested?" I nodded, careful not to oversell it. "Yeah, I am." The project was small, a library wing, tight budget, real constraints. I stayed late by choice this time, not necessity. When Rosa stopped by my desk, she pointed at the screen. "You're good at this," she said. "Not dramatic, just certain." 2 years passed without ceremony. I was promoted to senior designer. My paycheck grew. Not fast, steady. I opened a separate savings account and labeled it later. Once, my mom asked, "Are you settled now?" "I'm okay," I said. She paused, like she wanted to add something, then didn't. On a Sunday morning, I sat at my small table, coffee cooling beside me, sketching plans that weren't for anyone else. Not yet, just mine. Aaron called on a Tuesday night. His voice sounded smaller, like it had traveled a long way. "We lost the townhouse," he said. "We're in a motel near Aurora. Just temporary." I leaned against the counter and listened. He told me Lydia's firm folded, how the payments stopped, how things fell faster than he expected. "There's something I need to say," he added, slower now. "What Lydia hinted about you, none of it was true. I should have said that then." "I know," I said. And I did. Knowing didn't make it lighter, but it made it finished. Lydia called the next day. She didn't apologize. She asked if they could stay with me for a month, maybe 2. She mentioned the kids twice. "I can't do that," I said. My voice didn't shake. "But I can help in other ways." I set up a one-time contribution into an education savings plan for the kids. I emailed a list of housing resources, numbers, addresses, names, no cash, no spare keys. At a family dinner later, Lydia tried to smooth the story. I slid my phone across the table instead. Transfers, dates, messages. Aaron nodded when everyone looked at him. That was enough. Now, most mornings are quiet. I make coffee. I sketch before work. My phone buzzes less. My mom texted once. I'm learning how to listen better. I saved it. Didn't answer right away. What changed wasn't my job or my address. It was how I stopped explaining myself. Talia Mercer doesn't live on borrowed certainty anymore. If any part of this felt familiar, you know where to leave a trace. We read everyone.